Could it be? Could it be? It is out of here!
And it's a no-hitter! Unbelievable! Ruiz and Halladay embrace!
Champions! It is bedlam at the bank as Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top! We're talking about the Lions here.
Hello and welcome to the Specific Jawns podcast, the June 22nd edition. Welcome back, my good friends Mike Sambuco and Pat Barker. This is our first truly weekly cast in a little bit, so we've got an action-packed week to cover. Good time to be kicking the pod back into gear. Speaking of the pod, be sure to like, share, subscribe, everything you can related to the Specific Jawns podcast. We're going to keep going with this all year. And we appreciate all your support. Gentlemen, great to see you. Happy belated Father's Day, first of all. Hope you guys had a good one. Anything special, baseball related, that went on for you?
We had a whole weekend because my son's birthday was also on Sunday. So
Happy birthday to Grafton, for sure.
happy birthday to Grafton. We had a great weekend. We went to Disneyland on Father's Day. But on Friday, I've told you guys certainly off the air. I don't know if we've ever discussed it on air. My son is a big fan of personal injury attorneys and their billboards. You know, kids and their hobbies. So we made a video for Autism Awareness Month, talking about his various things, and we mentioned it. And somebody tagged Jacoby and Myers, the official injury attorneys of the Dodgers, in the comments. And they hit us up and they said, we love the video. We've been watching it nonstop. We want to send your whole family to a Dodgers game. And we want to send you guys some gear too. So we got this gigantic box full of Jacoby and Myers, Dodgers collab stuff that only one person on earth could possibly be interested in. And it's my son. They got us 4 tickets to the game on Friday. Against the Orioles. So good seats too. I mean, and those seats are not cheap. So we got to go, we went to the Dodgers game on Friday, Disneyland on Sunday. Hell of a weekend.
That's an amazing story. They are
That is
not,
incredible.
to be clear, they're not official sponsors, but we have no problem recommending to all of our listeners, if you are in a slip and fall situation, Jacoby and Myers, please. And if you need their number or tagline, I know Pat's son can certainly deliver that to you instantaneously. All right, gentlemen, let's get into the week of Phillies baseball, which has been a good one. I would say since our last cast, they were 4-2 on this homestand against division rivals, the Marlins and the Mets. Basically, what you would expect out of the rotation to line up wins and losses. We got rocked in the Andrew Painter game. We unfortunately lost the Aaron Nola game. It wasn't Aaron Nola's fault, I would argue. But the rest of the guys in the rotation really just brought their A game, and that's why we are 4-2. But the bigger story, other than the pitching, which is always the thing that we look at as a positive this year, is the offense has really lit up. 7 runs, 8 runs, 15 runs throughout this week. It's been just that sort of fun Phillies summer vibe. It's hitting season, as Charlie Manuel would always say. And our big dogs are swinging. I was just looking up, even Bohm and Stott, 2 guys that we sort of view as a sort of a pivot point in the lineup. If they can produce, this team can actually work. Both of them hitting 290 in June. I think that's a very good sign. And obviously Schwarber, 29 home runs at this point, leading the league by far, hit 3 Saturday night, another one last night, Sunday. Just things feel pretty good. I want to go through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we're gonna fixate on the good. Gentlemen, other than just the scoreboard, what are you seeing trend-wise that we can really hope to start riding here into the All-Star break, into the postseason? What's going on?
I think for me, it is, God, saying vibes feels so corny because I'm deep down an analytical guy. I want everything to be explainable through data. And when you start getting into theoretical conversations about this guy has a winner vibe and this guy has a loser vibe and everything like that, I just feel like it's overused and it's reductive and it's based on nothing a lot of times. But I don't know how else to describe what we just saw. I mean, look, not a lot has changed since the last podcast, in that our biggest concern on the last podcast was how they handle A-level pitchers from potential playoff opponents. That's still a thing. But boy, does it feel a lot different coming into this podcast. Seeing these guys firing on all cylinders, whether it's against the Marlins and Mets or it's against, the Dodgers and Braves, the bottom line is 4-2 is 4-2. And we could get into all the statistics. You covered a bunch of them in the open there, Carl. But it just does feel like the vibes were so good this past week. And all of the cliches about hitting is contagious and all that kind of stuff, it all manifested itself on the field this week. So for someone like me, it is almost infuriating to watch, because I'm like, this is the same team that I shit on a week ago. Nothing has changed, and yet I'm looking at them now and I'm like, oh, they're going to win a World Series. And I guess I have just described what being a fan is. I'm thinking too much about it. But as a fan, I like how fun this team is to watch when they're clicking on all cylinders.
And look, they did all of their damage against mediocre-ish pitchers. Peralta's the one exception on Saturday, which I don't think anybody expected a 10 earned run performance out of him. But you're starting to see the full lineup kind of jive a little bit this week. We've seen Stott and Bohm really come out of those early season struggles. And is it enough to get confident about this lineup in October? No, but it's great to see them put up crooked numbers. It's just been so long. And when you see Schwarber and Harper red hot like he did Saturday and Sunday, I mean, it's great to see, but is hitting contagious? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta look at, especially Saturday's game. I'm gonna choose to focus on that because that was the most positive I felt that the entire stadium has felt in quite a while. But it wasn't just, that they beat up on, Peralta, that they scored 15 runs, that, Sanchez was dominant but actually overshadowed by the offense doing that well. I mean, Schwarber had 3 home runs. Bryce Harper hit for the cycle. And you kind of look at his cycle, the highlights of his cycle to me are that sort of, do we have it again? The vibes almost felt evident in him running the bases. I mean, he stretched a single into a double and a double into a triple with reckless abandon and was successful both times. That certainly helps. But people see that. And whether you're in the dugout or in the stands, that energy is something that I feel has been missing for sure. It's not just performance; it's the way that they did it. And let's ride this. I mean, this is what we've kind of relied on the past several years. When it is hitting season, and we have a homestand, the guys mash. And thank God they still have even that, because earlier this season we were wondering if we'd even see a glimpse of any of this at all this year.
I also want to give Kyle Schwarber his props. I mean, I am still marveling at A, his season, and B, his tenure as a Philly. He obviously hit his 5th 3-home run game on Saturday, and if he hits one more, he will tie the major league record with 6, and he would be the only one to do that, with one of those games also being a 4-home run game. So just an amazing Phillies career that he's had, and just every dollar that we've put towards that first contract was just incredibly well spent. And the second contract, I mean, he currently has the highest WAR on the position player side on the team as a DH. I mean, how often do you see that?
Not very often. It's pretty incredible. And Carl, if I could just touch on a couple things real quick there. I
Mhm.
didn't mean to cut you off, but you know, I Mike, you said earlier, like, it was against kind of like mediocre pitching, which I don't disagree with. But the thing that I would say is mediocre pitching as a Phillies fan is terrifying, especially if it's coming out of somebody's left hand. How many times have we as Phillies fans looked at the upcoming starters and said, "Oh, Maddox, they'll win that game. Scherzer, they'll win that game. Oh, a lefty journeyman with a 7.5 ERA, they have no shot. They have no shot." The day after they scored 15 runs going up against David Peterson and his ERA approaching 6, I was like, they are cooked. They are going to look ridiculous tonight. And they didn't. They came out and they hit them. So I don't want to discount the pitching just because it's not against like top tier opponents, because oftentimes that is like what trips them up the most. The other thing I wanted to talk about just like briefly is how you said like they it's just something about the attitude, and like when you saw Harper running the bases and everything. This is like to me like a classic chicken and the egg thing. The vibes and the everything always looks better when you're winning. You know what I mean? Like people oftentimes when the team is losing, they're like, well, they look like they're not having fun out there. Yeah, they're losing, right? I never understood the guy in the stands who could sit there in a game where we're down 4-0 in the seventh and they've given us nothing to cheer about and start yelling at all the other fans. Come on, you guys are quiet. Get up. I hate that shit because it's not our job to motivate them. It's their job to give us our money's worth and us to react accordingly. But that goes both ways. On the field, it's like, yeah, if you are losing, it's really tough to make it look like you're having fun. And by the way, if you do make it look like you're having fun while you're losing, that's a whole different thing that people freak out about. So the two go hand in hand. I mean, as long as they hit, I think that it's going to be a snowball effect.
And it's not just when you're winning, it's when you're hitting that the crowd really gets excited. It's a lot harder to get excited when your own pitcher is just shutting the other team down. Yeah, you can cheer for a big strikeout or getting out of a jam, but the momentum really builds upon itself from the offensive side.
Yeah, I mean, fans like seeing guys run the bases. They like seeing the ball travel. That's what gets them going. The casual fans, that's what fills out the noise in the stadium. We know that for sure. I just want to say back to Kyle Schwarber real quick. The guy has shut a lot of people up, including myself. And, I've always loved the guy, but I still, I like to say I'm not sure that money was the right money to spend this offseason. But, I mean, I can't say a word about it when he's performing the way he is. And there's really no reason to think he can't carry it through this contract. He's given us no indication that he won't. So, yeah, props to him. Love the guy. I hope we can continue to see him carry us into the postseason with that kind of performance. That's all I can say. Other stuff, good on the good side. Sanchez and Wheeler continue to be dominant. I mean, Sanchez had one game where he gave up 4 runs where we hit nothing. There was no reason to get down on him at all, other than the fact that we just feel pretty bummed that gave Mizorowski the inside track on the Cy Young. But there's still a lot of games to play still. I will note that if you look at the innings pitched compared to the two of them, Sanchez has pitched almost 3 games more than I think Miz has, and I think that's something that should be counted towards the end. Let's move on. Well, one other really good thing. I don't want to de-emphasize how much fun it was to watch the Mets still look like the Mets, especially this weekend. Yes, they took one from us on Thursday. I cursed out Alvarado for giving up those 3 runs in that, I believe, 7th inning that game. But we really took it to them, and it was great to see them do things like, throw a ball wide to first base to allow us to really get that Saturday or Sunday night's game really out of control. To see Juan Soto try to stretch a single into a double after Harper had and be out by 4 strides on a great play by Derek Hall. I mean, that's just beautiful stuff that you can't give me enough of, and I want to make sure we make mention of how much fun that is, because when the Mets are this bad, it feels like the Phillies are that much better. So I'll just say that. Anyway, the bad of this past week mostly has to do with injuries and demotions. Before we get to Andrew Painter, let's just wrap up a couple things here. So Adolis Garcia for sure is done for the year for his contract. We probably won't see him in a Phillies uniform again. I wonder if we'll see him playing baseball again, to be honest with you. Brad Keller, our sort of hired gun as a setup man, I think is what we really wanted him to be this year. He's on the IL. I've not had much confidence in him so far this year. I feel like he gives up a lot of contact. Just doesn't feel like he's got an out pitch. I believe his ERA was in the 4s by the time he went on the IL, and I saw him blow several leads in gettable games. I hope that, whatever he's recovering from was maybe what was nagging him leading up to this point, because I do think we're going to need him. I think if you look at everyone in front of Duran, now we're starting to wonder if we're a little shaky. Alvarado doesn't look super great. Alvarado's Alvarado. Kerkering has not taken a step forward, I don't think, unless you consider the fact that he's back and having any confidence at all after the end of last season as a step forward. So that's going to be a little bit thin, I think. I hope we continue to mash this summer so that those middle relievers won't matter quite as much. And then the third thing, as I mentioned, is Andrew Painter was demoted after getting absolutely shelled, I believe, last Wednesday against the Marlins. He has no confidence in his fastball. It is so evident. It's evident in his pitch mix that he's shying away from it. You watch guys sit on it because the other stuff is not in the strike zone. It got really sad. It looked like a guy at 2 levels below where he should be. And, he was demoted, and we can only hope that the stuff returns, or is there at all? I mean, do we know that he has the stuff post Tommy John? I'm not sure. I feel like we've been sitting on this for almost a year and a half, expecting him to, come to fruition from the prospect that he was. Is he going to be able to work that out in the minors and return this year? I don't know. What do you guys see there? Is there potential for him to be an integral part of this rotation in 2026?
I don't think they can count on it. I think that this year might just be a second lost year coming back from TJ. I don't think he has the confidence in his fastball. I don't think he has the stuff that he used to have pre-surgery. The control is still an issue too. Opponents are hitting over 400 on his fastball, and that's just not the type of pitcher that he was before he had surgery. So it might be another lost season, and it's a shame because there was so much problems. There was so much excitement about him before he got hurt. And it looks like we're going to go into an off season that could be very much make or break for him. And maybe it's mechanical adjustments, maybe it's a couple pitch tweaks, fine-tuning the control, but he really needs to dig deep this offseason and figure things out, because he's a big part of the future if he can turn it around.
Yeah, it looks like... Go ahead, Pat.
No, you go.
Well, I was going to say that there are a few mechanical things that, I've heard mentioned, various, analysts and guys inside the Phillies organization that are equal parts alarming and maybe cause for optimism. 2 things about his mechanics. I know he's kind of falling off to the side at the end of his delivery, which will obviously lead to control issues. That seems so fixable to me. I mean, guys fall into that pattern, throughout the year even, or in an inning. You just got to be reminded, have your head follow the ball, stay straight, don't fall off the mound unless you're, some goofy reliever that's become your mechanics and it lasts for an inning at a time. The other thing is that they've really noted how his stride is not really being optimized at all for his height. You look at a guy like Wheeler, just the extension he gets. He uses every bit of his length to make it such that, not only is he throwing mid to high 90s at you, but your chance to react to it is, 6 to 12 inches shorter at the release point. So it's kind of weird to me to hear a guy. I mean, Painter is what, 6'6"?
6'7", I think.
6'7". I mean, we shouldn't be talking about the guy not getting the right extension. That should be his bread and butter. So it's odd to me. I hope it's fixable. I don't see how it will be related to his Tommy John recovery, unless he really is not.
That's the piece
ready.
I agree. Like I was curious about the same thing. Like, was that an issue for him previously before surgery as well? I haven't seen or read anything about that, but it seems like a very easy tweak to make as well.
Yeah, I hope that it's just mechanical, that he can work through it, get the muscle memory there, and again, another chicken or egg situation, that will result in the confidence in the fastball. You hope that those two things feed into each other. I hope this year. I hope ever, frankly, at this point. It's a Phillies prospect. Who are we to expect anything?
How many times do they have to line up this football and pull it away from us while we go flying through the air like Charlie Brown and land on our noggin? The Gavin Floyd football, the Kyle Drabeck football, which thankfully we traded to Toronto and let them deal with it. I mean, my God, like this, it never pans out. It never works. The closest it's gotten in the last 20 years was Nola, and obviously he is not without flaws. This happens all the time with the Phillies. So I am not terribly surprised by this. I was more surprised, and we talked about it ad nauseum in the off-season episodes, I was more surprised that they were so confident going into this season with a number 5 starter that they were going to turn loose with no innings restriction, no plan to skip starts, no plan to piggyback him with anybody, coming off of a Tommy John surgery, not knowing how his arm would respond or how his confidence would or any of these things that we're talking about. They came in with zero plan. Let's just throw him out there and see what happens. Well, now you saw what happens. He's back in the minor leagues. Now, look, if it is mechanical issues, great. Hopefully they can work those out. And you're right, those do seem like pretty fixable mechanical issues that should have been addressed and potentially fixed by now. That's why I'm not completely confident that that's the case. Because usually when you know, a guy has a bad start and they go, oh, he was tipping his pitches, they get it fixed for the next start. The idea that this could be a thing where it's like, oh, he's fallen off to the side or something like that, and nobody could pull him aside between starts without necessitating a trip to the minor leagues and having Tim Meza step in to start bullpen games, this seems like not an ideal kind of fix. But I think confidence is just a huge thing. He looks like he would rather be anywhere but out on the mound. And, you know, I mean, famously, Roy Halladay is a guy who went through, you know, he needed a sports psychologist, and he became one of the best pitchers of his generation. So I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. It could still happen. But right now, I am counting on him to give us nothing for the rest of the year. The Phillies need to be operating immediately in a position where they are looking for a 5th starter with major league experience, not only to take the mound every 5th day, but to also, God forbid, be part of a playoff rotation in the event that one of these guys goes down. The fact that there is no organizational depth, nobody to step up and take his place, is really just kind of embarrassing. And the Phillies need to, at the deadline, and there's going to be no shortage of guys available. They don't have to get Tarek Skubal. They don't even have to get Reed Detmers, but they got to get somebody who can give them a 4.5 ERA and 5 to 6 innings once a week. They
need to get somebody to just kind of stem the tide for the rest of the regular season. But this is the year where they don't have the extra off day in the NLDS. So if they make it to that stage, they need 4 starting pitchers. Or are they going to go into an NLDS series with a need to do a bullpen game? And then that would then compound you to do the same thing in the NLCS and potentially the World Series. So like they're going to plug a hole. It's just a matter of how many of their resources they're going to allocate to that.
Terrifying prospects right there. And that is a perfect segue in from the bad into the ugly, which are, and we've started to touch on it already, what can we possibly do with the fifth starter slot? What was their plan ever beyond Taijuan Walker for starting pitching depth? I still don't get it. I don't mean to retread.
So if I can try to just explain how we got to this point. They were in the offseason. They obviously wanted to give Painter a chance. They figured that Taijuan Walker would be their depth piece once Wheeler got back, but Taijuan was so bad that could not have been sustained. They had to release him. Because they had Taijuan as the sixth, they really had a trouble trying to find somebody in free agency to fill the depth in that rotation. So having a guy who would potentially be the seventh guy isn't a very attractive position to be in. So all of the types like Walker Buehler, which fairly cheap, has provided the Padres with some decent innings. He wouldn't have sniffed our rotation until, call it, June. And I don't think that's a very attractive position to be in when you have so many good rotation pieces clogging up potential opportunities for depth pieces. It's both a blessing and a curse. I would take this position any day of the week because you have reliable starting pitching, but it does lead to the situation where it's harder to attract those depth pieces because guys want to find opportunities where they can play. They don't want to go to a situation where they're the sixth or seventh guy.
Mike, that's a great point. It is like we were cursed with having such a strong top 3 to 4 pieces. And I was so pissed off that we didn't offer Walker Buehler anything as far as I know, and then to see him sign essentially a AAA contract with the Padres. And when did Gio get signed? I mean, 2 months into the season? I mean, there are a lot of examples like that. But I do think you're right. We're talking about veterans with some kind of pedigree, looking for their shot to be an integral part of a rotation at this point. It's the first time I'll say it. I'll lay off Adambo on that particular topic.
He just needs to get his big boy selling shoes on a little bit more.
It's a great point. It's a great point, and frankly, one that I have not considered. Now, look, to play devil's advocate, we're reading Walker Buehler's mind right now and being like, well, he wouldn't want to be here. But to Carl's point, did we even try? Is that a call that was even made? Because I think you could make the argument that Taijuan Walker should not have been part of the rotation to start the season. I think if you call these guys and you go, hey, Taijuan Walker is just in the bullpen, we are looking for a fifth starter until Zach Wheeler gets back, who knows? Now, that'll give you 6 to 8 weeks to showcase. We might go to a 6-man rotation at that point. We might, the weakest link might be Painter might get sent back down. It might be you. You might go to the bullpen. I don't know. But I think there could have been an opportunity to pitch somebody on having a real ramp to prove themselves on a contending team, with the caveat that Taijuan Walker would not be in the equation as a starting pitcher, which I don't think he should have been. I understand why he was. They were trying to get their $18 million worth, and I get it. So, yes, no, you're right, though, and there's really no sense in rehashing our anger towards Dombo, but he's going to have to make a move at the deadline, I think is my point now. Just like looking forward.
Where potentially you could fault him, and I wouldn't necessarily want to say this definitively because I haven't done enough research to see who might have been available. But what they needed to do is find an optionable kind of quad A depth guy via trade. That's where they don't need to necessarily attract somebody. They're forcing his hand and saying, "You're coming to us." So that's where they may have missed the boat, but I'm sure 29 other teams would have wanted to find guys like that for depth. So it's not as easy to necessarily make that trade partner appear out of thin air, but you can't go into the regular season the way they did without really a sixth starter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that said, and Mike, I'll always rely on you first for minor league analysis. What can we possibly do even to get a start at any given week out of our AAA situation? I know there's Seth Johnson, a guy who was talked about as, having plus stuff when we traded for him. He was in one of those Baltimore trades a couple years ago. Alan Ranhel, I think, is sort of the anchor of the AAA rotation right now. Just nothing's exciting me here other than Gage Wood as a name, at least. And again, another prospect that, for all we know, will turn out to be nothing because he's a Phillies prospect. But what can we do even between now and the end of July?
Alan Ranhel is going to take the first shot at filling that gap in the starting rotation. Seth Johnson, by the way, had a fantastic appearance this weekend, hitting 99 out of the bullpen. I'll keep him right there. If he figures it out, because he's looked terrible in other major league appearances so far in his career, but if he figures it out and we can find another like 6th, 7th inning type guy for depth in the bullpen, keep him there. Anyway, Ranhel's going to be the first guy to get the shot. And then it's going to be figure it out until the trade deadline because I don't see anybody else. Gene Cabrera's had a horrendous AAA season, so bad that he was demoted to AA. And Gage Wood, while promising last year's first-round pick, he's on a pitch limit. He's not going to throw, it sounds like it might not even be 100 innings this year. And he's just been called up to AA. He's done okay there. But I can't really get too excited about him for 2026 because you may not have enough innings left in the season.
Do you know how bad you have to be to get demoted from a Phillies minor league team? Holy shit. I mean, sorry, Gene Cabrera.
And he was one of our, I would say, top 30 prospects, maybe top 15.
Yeah. Well, that paints a bleak picture, doesn't it? Look, Mike is the guy to go to on minor league questions. So if he says that they're screwed, then I will just go with that. That's the way it sounds to me. I will say, I mean, time-wise, we're approaching July. So you got to figure out a way to cover 4 or 5 starts, maybe, and those might be bullpen games. That might just be what you have to do. And really, maybe not even 5 with the All-Star break. You can reposition things. Like, we're just looking at a relatively minor slate of games where they're going to have to like survive. I think we're just going to have to white knuckle it once every 5 days and hope that that is a day that the offense is on point.
And I don't think it's coincidental that they moved that bullpen game slot in the rotation up to immediately after Sanchez and Wheeler. Theoretically, Sanchez and Wheeler dominate, bullpens relatively rested for a bullpen game. So I don't think that was coincidental when they did that today. Today would be the normal slot for Luzardo, but they moved Luzardo to tomorrow instead. And that might be how they handle it, with an extra focus on getting some bullpen rest the days before during the Sanchez and Wheeler starts and moving into the bullpen game the next day.
Yeah, that's all good until Luzardo has a rough one, and then everybody works back-to-back days, and you need Aaron Nola to give you 7 or 8. That's, Not
Yeah,
good.
there are a lot of big assumptions we have to make in the optimism side here, namely that no one gets hurt. We that's really if a key piece on this team gets hurt between now and September, I don't see us recovering. So we just
I fully agree. If a Wheeler injury like what happened last year pops out of nowhere in August this year, I don't think we survive it.
right. And that goes for the lineup too, I would say. And I'll do one more item under the ugly category that I can't wait to watch your reactions to. There's another piece that this team still needs, and it is in right field. It is a right-handed bat as well. Ideally, those two things together. We don't have trade chips. We know that. And, Dombo's going to have to put on his wizard hat at the end of July and figure out what he's going to do, how to pick up two even mildly functional pieces in those two categories, starting pitcher and right field / right-handed bat. Going to throw something out there. There's a guy who would cost nothing at this point, relatively, a right-handed bat who plays right field. Nick Castellanos. I have this vision where Dombo is essentially Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood, and I'm Paul Dano, and I'm just getting him to say, I abandoned my boy, and then he brings Nick back, and we ride into the sunset together and win a ring. Give me the feasibility on that. On the return of Nick Castellanos as our answer to right field, right-handed hitting guy who costs nothing.
I think you're looking to set a new record for worst WAR out of right field by going that route with the combo of Felix Reyes, Otto Kemp, Rincones. Obviously, we have had an interesting start to an end to the season with Adolis Garcia, all of which have negative WARs, and Nick would just add to that.
So you're saying maybe not.
If we have to dig in the mothballs for a right fielder, I would rather they bring in Bobby Abreu at his current age and weight than Nick Castellanos. But that's just me. That's just me. I have no desire to ever have Nick back on this team. Thank you for your service. Have an El Presidente for me. But I do not want him back in the dugout or the clubhouse. And I know you're saying that somewhat as a joke, but I know you, and I know it's a little bit serious. I know you are a small part of you is like, I do think this could work, if we're being honest.
I'm a little bit of a chaos agent when it comes to Castellanos. Yeah, I can't shy away from it.
We know Carl's answer to this, but I want to get Pat's answer. Who would you rather have back this season, Taijuan Walker or Nick Castellanos?
Also, just so we're aware, Taijuan Walker was released from his AAA contract with the Angels, I believe, earlier this week.
So you're saying he's available?
He's available, exactly.
I think just because, well, the one variable that has changed, and it's worth noting here, is that Castellanos, behaviorally, seems like his main beef was with Rob Thompson, who is no longer part of the organization. I don't know. Maybe him and Don Mattingly would be peas in a pod and they would get along swimmingly.
Nick loves the guy who played the game. He loves the guy who played the game, being the captain of the ship.
Certainly does, and Donnie Baseball played it at a high level. I will say, though, with Castellanos, the problem is you can't hide him. Like, he's going to be out on the field. With Taijuan Walker, if you re-sign him and put him in the bullpen, like, Lord willing, there's a situation where you only see him the same way you see Kike Hernandez pitch for the Dodgers, which is like one team is up by 10 runs. So just because you could hide him more, I will say Taijuan. But Nick would be more fun for this podcast specifically. I will say that. Options that are theoretically better than Nick Castellanos, of course, I will beat the Mike Trout drum until I'm blue in the face, just because I think it would be very fun. I don't necessarily think it's the best idea, But I also realize how limited the Phillies are in what they can do. Now, the Angels are they're a separate circumstance because they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they're probably, if they trade Trout, it'll only be for a Scooble like return that they're never going to get. So he's going to stay put. That's my guess. More realistic, and I was at the game on Friday, scouting this guy out, and I saw him for years in Anaheim, Taylor Ward, who is playing, he's a corner outfielder for the Orioles this year. He's having a very nice year. He's hitting leadoff for them. Just a solid bat. He's not the best defender, but he's better than Castellanos was. And then you could slide Derek Hill back into the role he was born to play, which is fourth outfielder. He's miscast right now as an everyday starter, as is at this point in his career Rincones. I think Ward would be the guy that I'm targeting, and he's a rental player. He's on a 1-year deal, so in theory you wouldn't have to give up a whole lot. And that's what the Phillies need, not because I want to protect the farm system, but because they don't have a whole lot to give. Anybody that would require more than that is just out of the question, and you just have to go to that next tier. And I think Ward's status as a rental player, much the same way they got Harrison Bader, I think he'd be a little bit higher rental cost than Bader was, but not much. And that would be my guy at this point.
He has a 393 OBP this year, which is by far his best of his career. But his slugging is way down. He's only got 4 home runs. Overall, solid season at 748 OPS. I'd take that in a heartbeat. What are you giving up for him?
Well, I mean,
he's a rental. He's got no team control after this season, so he's a free agent. So the package theoretically wouldn't be that much, but he intrigues me. Absolutely.
The problem is, and we touched on this a little bit last week, is that lack of right-handed options in the outfield is not a Phillies exclusive problem. A lot of the contenders are looking for the same kind of guys. So the cost might be higher on a Taylor Ward than it would be in previous seasons. And if the cost goes up, then the Phillies are out because they cannot match. Even if another team was able to offer 2 B-level prospects, the Phillies don't have 2 guys that could match that. More than likely, without giving up like really a significant part of their farm system. So I don't know. I'd have to be in the room to have those conversations, but I do feel like you have to treat this team like it is a team that is built to win now, because it is, like it is a team that is aging, because it is, like it is a team whose window could be closed at any point, because it is. So knowing that, if you have to overpay a little bit for a Taylor Ward to have a shot at winning a championship this year, I think it's a no-brainer. You have to do it.
If it's the cost of somebody like how much they gave up for Harrison Bader last year, similar rental type outfielder, right-handed bat, plays center field as opposed to Ward, who's a corner outfield guy, I'm all for it. Absolutely. I just have no idea what this market's going to be like because everybody is looking for the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the price is going to be too high for a right-handed bat. I really do. I think we're going to, if we have a chip that we're willing to give up, it's going to be for that starting pitching depth, and I think we're going to be left looking for a right field option anywhere. That's why I throw in Nick out there, just because I see him as a guy who you can either save as a pinch hitter or just have for the first 6-7 innings and bring in a defensive replacement in Derek Hill. It just seems like he'll be a lot more amenable to things that, for whatever reason, were not an option under Topper's tenure for Nick, whether that was Nick's call or not. It just seems like it'll be a better setup to utilize him in a way that he probably should have been used for 3 years leading up to this. Not going to beat that drum any further. I just really think the Phillies are that desperate. And I think starting pitcher is going to be the first thing they gun for. That's where
I'll disagree. I think for the reasons that Pat mentioned earlier in terms of the Taiwan versus Casti thought exercise I put out there, you can't hide an everyday player the way you can hide a pitcher. That's the reason why they need to get an offensive bat for the corner outfield, because they need somebody to plug that hole, because that's an everyday issue as opposed to a once every 5 or maybe not at all in the postseason issue. Whereas in right field, you have a black hole right now that you need to fill.
Well, I think we'll see the next couple weeks. If we're finding that our record is still strong and that we're in playoff position, maybe I'll agree with you on that, Mike, but I feel like we're still in a position to be searching for enough wins to get into the dance. I think if we've got a bullpen game every fifth day right now, and Aaron Nola in there, and Luzardo's blow up game here and there, I'm worried about having enough wins to get a chance to even utilize these guys. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
and
thinking.
there are a ton of great teams, good teams, I should say, stacked up in that wild card race in the
Mhm.
NL. Um, the
Take the opposite. I'm gonna take the opposite point of view on that. And Mike, we can argue this a little bit, but like I don't think there are a ton of good teams in that wild card race. I think we hyperfixate on the Phillies because we're Phillies fans and that's what we do. But I think there are a lot of deeply flawed teams um, across baseball. National League is way better than the American League this year. Um, but beyond the Braves and the Dodgers, I really don't see any team. I mean, the Brewers are really solid and they're always really solid. But this wild card race, the majority of the teams I see in there, I recognize as being just as flawed, if not more so, than the Phils. I don't have any doubt in my mind at this point, and this might seem crazy given the amount of, hand wringing I've done over the roster construction and everything, but I have no doubt in my mind that this is a playoff team. I would be shocked at this point if they don't make the playoffs. They went through the darkest times and they're in position to make the playoffs right now, and they still haven't played completely up to their potential, everybody going at the same time. I think this is absolutely a playoff team, and frankly, most of the teams in the race don't really scare me that much. I mean, who are you? Who would you consider to be in that wild card race? A better team than the Phillies right now.
I think it's more just the fact that they're all clumped together so closely, and in this wild card race, you have 6 teams vying for that last wild card spot within a game and a half of each other. And those 6 teams are only at least the Cubs, I should say, or at least currently in that 6th spot, are only 2 games behind the Phils. So it's more of the fact that there's so many teams that which team is going to make that big move in at the July trade deadline, and that jolts them ahead. I mean, you got the Cubs who just ate us up, who have been terrible since. You have the Padres that, if their bats wake up, they have a fantastic bullpen. Um, the Pirates, you got a nice little rotation there, but the Nats have kind of snuck into this race because they've been hitting so well. I mean, they're all flawed. You're absolutely right. I'm saying the good things about each of those teams, but there's a lot of bad on that other side.
And I'll say another thing about that clump of teams. I just, knowing how it goes and knowing what the Phillies' position is right now, one of those teams is going to get hot at the right time. And another one of those teams, hopefully it'll be the same team, but if it's another team, that's 2, will make a big splash at the trade deadline and find that piece and have those chips to offer to make them a true contender. That's the landscape that I see ahead of us. So, yeah, I mean, I think these are great takes that all 3 of us have on what could happen here. But I feel like the Phillies are just on such a unfirm footing because of their depth. Because if somebody goes down, we're screwed. The Braves are looking gettable. No one really wants to, I think, say that in the past couple of weeks, but we're only 6.5 games back. We could make a surge here, and things could click, and we might not have to worry about our record come trade deadline time as much as I am right now. And maybe go for that right-handed bat more than anything. Time will tell, and we will continue to reconvene each week and talk about all this. Guys, this is probably about a good time to wrap this one up. Great convo, as always. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Pacific Jawns Podcast. We'll be back again next week, hopefully talking about continued healthy run leading into the All-Star break and the trade deadline. Guys, thanks so much. Go Phils.
Phils.